Hello everyone and welcome back to the Formula Virtual Racing GT season. We're here for season 3, round 6 at Interlagos. My name's Dathan, your commentator for this race, and as I have done for the rest of the season. We've got 13 drivers on tonight's grid for the sprint race that follows after the 10-minute qualifying session, but before the feature race. So we have 2 races lined up for you guys tonight and lots of on-track action. So without further ado, let's run through with how these drivers fared after qualifying. It's a tricky one for some. Some benefited from a couple of slower lap times in the end. Cameron didn't make it for qualifying with a couple of network issues. He starts in 13th place, just behind Matic Bozovic on the left-hand side of your screen in the Porsche. Just in front of him is Kian. He starts in 11th, with a special livery for tonight's race. And on the left-hand side is Tim Denhire, who rounds out the top 10. Oh, let's move the camera back to the middle. Tim Denhire in 10th, only a second and a half of pole position. It's another new livery for Evan Dalton, who starts in 9th place, looking to try and bounce back after a little bit of a poor performance in Daytona, but the Mercs appear to have struggled at that circuit. It's BCR in 8th and 7th, with Xavier Maynard beating out his teammate James Kidwell to 7th place, only 2/10 separating the two Leon Green teammates. They start behind UNEM Thomas in 6th place, who was just 7/10 off of pole position. Then comes myself in 5th place in the Lamborghini Huracan, 7/10 off pole. Very close in the midfield. Badabig Maurizio Veltwist starts on the second row of the grid, behind my teammates Piero, who starts in 3rd with a 1:29.9. The front row of the grid is held by Vestager Bardi on the left-hand side of your screen in the blue Genesis with a 1:29.5, exactly 2/10 slower than our pole sitter Jensen Taylor, who starts this race on the front row of the grid in the prime position. The number 1 on the side of his car, like in Daytona, he started at every race this season so far on pole position. The king of qualifying. Can anyone beat him? Not today, however, because the official pole position award goes to the driver who starts on pole for the sprint race, not the driver who wins the sprint race. Apologies that it is a slightly earlier stream. The FVR F1 season tonight got postponed, and I'm going out later tonight, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to get the stream in nice and early for all you wonderful viewers watching from wherever you are in the world. I'm going to do a quick audio test just to make sure you can hear me loud and clear, and I believe everything is working. So without further ado, let's get into the sprint race. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 races tonight after the qualifying session. So I've got nothing else to say. Let's press play. The lights are counting down for the sprint race tonight here in Interlagos, and we go racing in Brazil. It's a great start for Vestager Bardi, and an even better one from Piero. They're 3 wide into turn 1. Jensen losing 2 positions from the start, and contact. Vestager Bardi's off and wide through turn 1, has to rejoin on the inside of turn 2, but he's been hit by Piero, and he's round and facing the wrong way. And to make matters worse, he's picked up a second penalty for track limits as well. But the leaders now run side by side in the run down towards turn 4. Jensen Taylor, who started on pole, retakes the lead of the race down and towards turn 4. Maurizio Veltwist and Piero now side by side through turn 5. The Ferrari on the inside of the Lexus behind them. Thomas getting ahead of Marriott in the background. The 2 BCR cars going side by side. That's Xavier ahead of James, but how much longer? They're side by side, wheel to wheel through the uphill right-hander of turn 6. 2 Brits battling on track, and Bozovic might try and go around the outside of the battling BCR cars. A little bit of contact between the 2 German manufacturers, with the Porsche now on the inside. Camera angle quite close to the apex, and there's a car round in the background. That's Cameron Hill, who gets overtaken by Vestager Bardi, but Tiger loses out in that position to Bozovic. Jensen, though, started this race on pole position, didn't lead down towards the first corner, but has recently taken the lead of the race back once again through Avesta's contact and mistake down at turn 2 on the opening lap. We have 15 minutes of racing action in the sprint race. No strategy, no mandatory pit stops. That's the lunge down the inside from Nathan Marriott on the inside of Maurizio Veldhuis. Has the outside for turn 2, but the Lexus is far enough ahead to cover off the racing line and move back up into 4th place. The Lamborghini will have a second go, though, down the second straight in towards the Sena del Lago at turn 4 and 5, but he's not quite close enough. The Lamborghini not having that performance in the straight line to warrant a move on the inside. Tim Den Heye, he's had a great start from 10th place on the grid. He's up 4 positions in the sprint. A reminder that it is the top 8 from the sprint that get reversed for the feature race that will commence with a rolling start. So as it stands, it's Xavier Maynard who's in pole position right now, but we've still got 13 minutes of racing action, about 8 laps to go. This should be a 10-lap race for the sprint. And then we have a standard set lap for the feature race, 27 laps these drivers will have to do, where we reintroduce the mandatory pit stop. 2 different tyre compounds must be used during the feature race, but it is open choice for the sprint. No strategy involved. In theory, a couple of drivers considered starting on the medium compound tyres. Tyre degradation is quite high around this circuit, especially to the right-hand tyres. We might see a couple of cars struggle with that. Meanwhile, back down to the battle for 4th place. There goes Marriott on the right-hand side of the circuit. Behind, though, they're 3 wide in towards turn 1. Evan Dalton in the middle of a Maynard and Den Heye sandwich, but it's the Brit that goes wheel to wheel with the Irishman down the Senna S's, and it's Xavier Maynard who comes out on that battle on top. He went from 8th to 6th, and the man of a couple of corners. A great overtake from him. Up the front of the field, though, it's the 2 4-5-8s battling for 2nd and 3rd. The Dutchman Thomas ahead of Piero, who now drops down into 3rd place. Both Ferraris putting on a great performance. Great battle for 2nd place. They might do well here at this circuit. Not too many long straights, but they might struggle to make overtakes down towards the first corner. Likewise with the Lamborghini. They're going to have to get really good exits through turn 12 down at Junsao. As Tim Den Heye has picked up a 1.5 second time penalty, presumably for track limits. He launches one down the inside of Xavier. I don't think he saw him coming. And that's the Nissan now up into 7th place, but will drop several positions with that time penalty. Will definitely drop behind both BCR cars. Might even drop behind, I think that is the Nissan of Kian. He's picked up another second. That's 2.5 seconds for track limits. That might be a record for the most consecutive track limits in one lap. Piero, though, back up to the front of the field, is launching an attack on Thomas. Likewise with his Squadra Italia teammates following the back of Maurizio Veldhuis down towards the Senna S's. Both Italian cars unable to make a move in towards the first corner. The last sprint race was at Road Atlanta, and we've got a very similar circumstance from that race. As it stands, James will be on pole position, and it will be a BCR 1-2. Running in 7th and 8th place, and Evan Dalton, Nathan Marriott will be in 3rd and 4th place, with I think Maurizio Veldhuis starting in 5th. That will be an exact top 5 from the last sprint race at Road Atlanta. But the field is still very close together, and we still have 10 minutes of racing action to go through. So nothing is finalised as it stands. Also worth noting that the championship leader Ate Timgren is absent from tonight's race, and crucially missing a sprint race. 12 points you get for winning the sprint race. So as it stands, Jensen Taylor will be closing down that 37 point gap in the championship to just 24, because he does own the fastest lap of the race. Here comes Nathan Marriott, though, once again hunting down Maurizio Veldhuis. pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit. It will be the outside for turn 1. You can just see that Lexus getting smaller and smaller on the left hand side of his mirror, down and towards the first corner. They're banging wheels in towards the first corner, but it's Nathan on the inside, Maurizio on the outside, gets a little bit wobbly on the inside curb, as a former co-commentator would say with me, a bit loosey-goosey on the rear. And how many times this season have we said about how we've been talking about Maurizio's defending in this league? It's been nothing short of outstanding. You know, notably last week at Daytona, where he was battling with Nathan Ate, and the week before when he was defending from James for 70% of that race. Up to the top 2 though, that positions may change because Thomas has got a 5/10 penalty for track limits, which he will serve at the penalty gate on this lap, located on the exit of turn 13. And will lose a position to Piero. He might just about have a gap to keep him on a podium position as we are halfway through the sprint race. Jenson Taylor leads the field away to end lap 5 and start lap 6, but behind, positions are set to be changed. There goes Piero through on the outside at the penultimate corner. Here come the charging Lexus and the Lamborghini. They could be 3 wide in towards turn 1 with the closing speed from the 2 cars behind. Nathan Marriott though goes for the inside of Maurizio Valtwist, down and towards the first corner. It's late on the brakes, Maurizio's later. They're still side by side, nearly hits the back of the other Ferrari. But all cars survive, down and towards the Senna S's. Nathan Marriott remains to be behind Maurizio Valtwist after 6 laps of the sprint. And if the sprint is anything to go by, then we're in for a great race for the feature, when the order will be reversed for the drivers who finish inside the top 8. And as it stands, James Kidwell will be on pole position, Avesta and Kean just missing out on a front row start for the feature race. Back up to our race leader, and it's Jenson Taylor with about a 3-4 second gap to Piero in second, followed by a 3-car fight for the final spot for the sprint race podium. 15 minutes of racing action. We are currently down to the final, I would love to see, but my bottom left of the screen's covered, final 6 minutes left of the sprint. That's about 3 laps when we finish this one. Thomas is a little bit wide, as is Maurizio. That opens the door for Nathan Marriott on the inside. The Lamborghini and the Lexus now running door to door, side by side, down the start finish straight. The Lamborghini though doesn't quite have the legs to pull in front of the Lexus, being towed by the Ferrari in front. And the Brit just has to tuck in behind the Dutchman for now, going in towards the first corner, but Thomas is wide through turn 1. That opens the door for Maurizio Valtwist to try and round the outside for turn 2. Through goes Marriott on the outside. Can he make this stick? Taking the white line once again side by side with the Lexus, and ahead on the exit of turn 3. But can he stay ahead in towards turn 4, because that's a late lunge down the inside from the Lexus on the Lambo, and Maurizio's back up into 4th place. And it's a shame that this is just a sprint, because this battle for 3rd place is producing some great on-track racing. Another attempt of a move down towards turn 6, but the Lamborghini not quite close enough to send one on the Lexus. Looking back down through the rest of the field, it's a Mercedes 678 being led by Evan Dalton ahead of 2 BCR cars, who are in a good position to start the sprint on the front row of the grid, if they can maintain that position, because they are being hunted down by Vesta Gabardi. We've got a car off in the background, that's Matic Bozovic down in 13th place, making his 2nd appearance in the league. There's been a bit of a wobble through the final corner. That's Thomas losing a couple of positions. That's 2 positions lost for Thomas through by a mistake. I just saw his arrow wobbling on the exit of Junsao, and in front of him he's going to have to witness a potential overtake. The Lamborghini on the Lexus. It's the outside line for turn 1 for Marriott, inside for Valtwist. But once again the Lexus just about getting to the apex before the Lamborghini. We ride on board from the rear wing of the Lexus. The Ferrari of Thomas runs wide through turn 3. Marriott though on the outside line for turn 4. How late does he brake? Not late enough. And that's a penalty, quite a sizable penalty for Thomas. I think his tyres are just fading towards the end of the sprint. The front right is starting to wear rather significantly compared to the cars around him. And this battling for third place is bringing Evan Dalton into the mix. And this 3-car fight for third has now become a 4-way fight. Although with Thomas's penalty, he will drop into the battle for 7th with the 2 BCR drivers. There's not a lot of orange in this battle for 7th place, but there will be a lot more when Thomas serves his penalty. In the background, I think that's Kian and Tim Den Hyer battling for 10th place. No points for those positions, only the top 8 score points. Another car's off at turn 1, and that's another mistake from Bozovic down in towards the first corner. He's now got front suspension damage as the leaders make their way through the final corner. Once again, the Lamborghini and the Lexus battling for third place. Thomas drops down into 4th. And it could be close between him and the 2 BCR drivers going towards the first corner, though. That's late on the brakes from Nathan Marriott. Sends one down the inside in towards the first corner. Wheel to wheel, side by side, but the Lexus comes out on top. Meanwhile, Xavier Maynard has the inside, now the outside line for turn 2 as he battles with Thomas for a second row start in this feature race, but for extra points from the sprint. Back up to the battle for third place. Mauritzio has the legs on the Lamborghini to stay ahead. What about the Mercedes on the Ferrari? Nearly contact between the 2 BCR drivers as James was a little bit later on the brakes than his teammate going in towards turn 4. And now Vesta Gobardi has joined the battle after he made his mistake down in towards the first corner on the opening lap, and then I think there was contact between him and Piero that saw him drop down and out of the points. Oh, but he's hit the back of James Kidwell down towards turn 7, and he opens the door for himself and then slams it down in towards the left-hander of turn 7. Will he turn 8? Sorry, will he give that back? It doesn't look like it. That my stewards may have something to say about that, but unfortunately, we don't have live stewards. And what he's done there is he's walked himself essentially into pole position. He's forced a move that will put him in pole for the feature race. Some might see that as a rather controversial move, but back up to the top to the battle for third place. Nathan Marriott once again on the inside. Can he be late on the brakes? Is that too late on the brakes? But he finally maybe has the position. No, he doesn't, because Veldhuis has looped it right round the outside, and Ernesto Gobardi sent one on the inside of Thomas, but just tucks in behind the Ferrari for now. Vesta and Thomas side by side, the Genesis against the Ferrari. One car is relatively much quicker in a straight line, and that is the blue and white car, now up into 6th place. Vesta's gained several positions in this lap, and Thomas might just lose another, because here comes Xavier Maynard on the outside. Thomas really struggling for front right tyre grip as Tiger now sends one down the inside of his teammate. Perhaps has a look, but these positions are for pole position for the feature race. Xavier now trying on the inside for turn 8, outside for turn 9. Can he whoop this one right round the outside? Thomas is going to show him the curb and nothing less. Contact, I think, between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Thomas now has the inside line on the final lap of the sprint. And these are crucial overtakes for pole position. And who will start 9th? Thomas though on the inside through Jun Sao. We're going to cut quickly back up to Jenson Taylor, who wins the sprint race here in Interlagos. But the battle for pole position is yet to be decided. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Piero will get 2nd. What about the battle for 3rd? It's a 3-way photo finish. But Mauritzio Veldhuis gets 3rd, Nathan in 4th, Evan in 5th. Thomas just about beats Tiger to pole position, and it was very close. 2 3-way fights across the line, and Thomas just about securing pole position for the feature race. We don't need to watch the sprint one more time. That was won by Jenson Taylor. Piero in 2nd, and they will start in 7th and 8th place. I've nearly lost my throat. Already starts to feel a little bit dry after that one. We're just going to take a minute before we press the replay for this sprint, and I needed refreshment. But that was a great sprint race, and we're about to reverse the top 8. It's a rolling start then for the feature race. UNEM Thomas is on pole position for this one ahead of Xavier Maynard. Sprint race winner Jenson Taylor starts 8th behind Piero, and we go racing once again for the feature race at Interlagos. 27 laps. Thomas leads the field away in towards turn 1 ahead of Xavier Maynard and Nathan Marriott and Mauricio Valtuis already side by side and towards the first corner. Marriott on the inside for turn 3. They couldn't be separated in the sprint. They can't be separated in the feature race. The Lamborghini's just about staying ahead of the Ferrari. Defensive in towards turn 4. Marriott on the inside. Contact between the two Squadra Italia teammates. And that's Maurizio Valtuis now off the track. We'll lose a couple of positions. Through goes Piero and Jensen on the inside at turn 4. Couple of positions lost for Maurizio. That's Piero looking for a move on the inside of his teammates. Has Jenson Taylor right behind him looking for a move on the outside in the Lexus. Maybe opens the door up for the other Lexus to have a look on the inside. But back up to the race leader. Thomas leading Avesta towards the end of the opening lap. A reminder, the top 8 from the sprints were reversed for the feature race. The mandatory pit stops now reintroduced. 2 different tyre compounds must be used throughout the course of the race, otherwise you will receive a 1-minute penalty. Everyone though starting this race on the yellow striped medium compound tyre, looking to go a little bit longer in this race. Here goes Avesta though, has the inside line in towards turn 1 on Thomas, late on the brakes and down the inside for Avesta Govardi, who takes the lead of the race. And he led the first corner of the sprint and he now leads the first corner in the feature race, and this time he keeps it without any further incidents. We've got a nice close-up of the BCR Mercedes making their way down and towards turn 4 ahead of 4th place Evan Dalton. Car number 32 ahead of car number 41, with 2 Squadra Italia drivers running in 5th and 6th place. And Jenson Taylor, who won the sprints, is now down into 7th place. Tim Den Haier's got ahead of James Kidwell in the opening lap, who moves his way up into 9th place. Although the Brits may be looking for a move down on the inside in towards turn 7. Will he send it late on the brakes? No, not on this occasion. But the front 2 have a little bit of a gap to the green and black car behind them. It's fair to say that Saab's livery certainly does stand out in this field, on this grid. Lots of colours though on this grid. Love to see it. And we've got a spinner in the back. Who is that? It's Keane, who has unfortunately dropped it at the penultimate corner. But starting lap 3, we could see moves into turn 1. Here goes Evan Dalton on the right-hand side of the screen. Left-hand side of the circuit. There may be 3 wide into turn 1 because here comes Nathan Marriott now on the inside of Xavier Maynard, who loses the position to Evan. Will he lose one more to the Lamborghini? Through the long through pin left-hander at turn 3. Evan Dalton now leads this train. Jenson Taylor looking for a move on Piero down towards turn 4. They're going to go 2 by 2. Nathan looking for a move on the inside of turn 4. Backs out of that one. But his teammate under pressure from Taylor, who now finds himself alongside the Ferrari 458 as they go up the hill in towards turn 6. Piero on the inside. Taylor's going to try and swoop it right round the outside. Piero leaves him the space, and that's a beautiful move from Jensen, who's up into 6th place. He's dispatched of one Squadra Italia car. Can he now get the other? And will move himself up into the top 5. think for the first time this season, Estegbardi's led more than one lap. Don't quote me on that though. I think that is a correct statistic. Evans wide through the final corner. That allows Xavier Maynard through on the inside, and maybe even Nathan Marriott. That's 2 positions lost in 2 corners for the Irishman. Is it going to be 3 from 3? Because here comes Jenson Taylor now down the inside of the Irishman, down the start-finish straight, and he gets the move done up into 5th place. What about Marriott and Maynard in towards the CNRS, down the inside for the Brits? A little bit of contact for Jenson and Zav, the Lexus hitting the back of the Mercedes, and Piero now through on the outside of Evan. That's 4 cars through on the Irishman just from one simple mistake through the final corner. I think I saw a time penalty up front for the Dutchman of Thomas. Through down in towards turn 4 though. Marriott leading, the 2 Brits behind him going side by side. That's Jenson on the inside of Xavier, and he gets the move done. Evan now looking for a move on Maurizio after the Dutchman got past the Irishman a few corners ago. But this train of cars was once being led by Evan Dalton. Evan Dalton now brings up the rear of this train. Especially during a sprint race where the top 8 is reversed, we often get these trains of cars, long trains forming at the start of races, and that's how costly a mistake can be. Just ran slightly wide through Jun Sao, and as a result now sees himself looking at the back of several cars. Cameraman's being caught napping, looking at the floor as we watch Thomas make his way down the start-finish straight ahead of Nathan and Jenson. Nathan now leaves the train down in towards turn 1, but here comes Jenson Taylor now down the inside in towards the first corner. Marriott's going to try and hold it around the outside, has the inside for turn 2, and Jenson just slots in behind the Lamborghini for now, pushing the back of that Squadra Italia car through this 3rd corner. We're on board with the front of the Lexus down towards turn 4. Marriott defends the inside. Can he defend it enough? That's laid from the brakes for Piero, who's down the inside. He sends it on Taylor, who runs wide and off the track, and Maynard's round in the background. There's been a crash involving Xavier Maynard, started by Piero being late on the brakes, and there you have it. A hard one to call, but later, I think too late on the brakes for Piero, that launched Jenson wide and off the track. Meanwhile, James and Evan now run side by side through the uphill right-hander at turn 6, and Evan sends one back down the inside, makes contact with the other Mercedes on the inside, but moves his way up into 7th place. Does that open the door now for Tim Denhire to make a move on the Mercedes? More contact, and the BCR drivers just can't get enough of it. But James retakes the position from the Dutchman, and not the best lap for the BCR drivers, both being one suffering more than the other. Bumping and barging all got a little bit too much there at the start of lap 5. Avestro starts lap 6 in the lead of the race from Thomas in 2nd and Nathan in 3rd. Maurizio's got ahead of Jenson, but runs wide through turn 1 and loses that position to Jenson, just as I was commenting on Maurizio gaining that position on his fellow Lexus driver. We are down to 11 drivers in this race, a couple of retirements. Brozovic didn't start, and I think Kian won't finish. Cameron Hill now runs in 11th place behind Xavier Maynard, who was involved in that lap 5 incident, which may need to be reviewed by the stewards. We'll have to wait and see whether it gets reported to them or not. Evan, though, leads this 3-car fight for 7th place ahead of James and Tim. 2 Mercedes battling against 1 Nissan. All of these cars are fairly decent in a straight line. The Nissan probably the better out of the 2 manufacturers. but James does have that toe from Evan Dalton in front of him. Tim thinking about a move in towards the final couple of corners, but decided to back out of that in the end. Meanwhile, back up to the battle for the final spot on the podium. Nathan Marriott leads Jenson Taylor down the start-finish straight at the end of lap 6 to start lap 7. That's late on the brakes, is it, for Jenson? He thought about a move in towards turn 1. A little bit of a mistake from Marriott. Runs a little bit deep through the first corner. That will leave him vulnerable through turn 3, through turn 2 and 3. And ultimately down the back straight, he tries to cover the inside, but Jenson has that inside line covered. They run side by side in the run down towards turn 4. Jenson's later on the brakes. And that is the move onto the podium for the Brit. Can Nathan fight this one back though, up the hill in towards turn 5. Looks about a gap on the outside. Can he work this one round the outside of Jenson Taylor? No, he cannot. But Jenson back up into the top 3, has finished every race he started this season in a podium position. Nathan yet to finish on the podium this season. His last podium back out at Grand Valley for season 2, where he won that race in a dominant fashion, I might add. Richard Veldhuis ahead of Pierre, but the Frenchman has picked up a time penalty and will have to serve it at this lap as we're about to cross through the penalty gate through turn 13. Richard Veldhuis has had one podium this season at Road Atlanta, but hasn't finished on the podium since. Has picked up a couple of 4s, a couple of 5ths. But only 2 drivers this season have finished on the podium in every race they've entered, that being our championship leader and our championship challenger, Ate Timgren and Jenson Taylor. Apart from that, it's been very closely contested in that battle for 3rd place, where Ate and Jenson have been picking up 1, 2 and 1 3s. We've had 7 different drivers finish on the podium this season after the first 5 races. That does not include the sprint races, of course. Although maybe it should. Maybe it should. Back down to the battle for 7th place. Tim down higher on the inside of Evan Dalton. He gets the move done after James got the move done on Evan. Still going to try and make it 2 from 2. Launches one down the inside, makes contact with the Mercedes. I'm noticing a lot more aggressive driving from these drivers, especially in the midfield and the lower end of the points. Contact, slight bumping between Evan and Xavier for the battle for 9th place. They run side by side through Junsao. The BCR car on the outside, Evan on the inside through the final corner. They run down the start finish straight for the 8th time this evening. The Irishman has the inside, but in front of them James has looking at the back, looking for a move on Timden Higher. Evan though has the inside for turn 1. Zav has the inside for turn 2. They keep it clean, but for how much longer? Timden Higher and James Gidwell now side by side through turn 3. The Nissan on the inside. They run side by side, but that's a beautiful move from the Mercedes to do it around the outside at turn 3. Tim almost onto the grass to find the inside line, leaves him under pressure from Evan Dalton on the inside, who leaves the door open for Xavier Maynard to walk on through and up into 9th place through turn 5. Now we've got a 5-way fight for 7th place between these drivers in the bottom half of the midfield. Contact as we see the smoke appear in front of these cars. More contact as Evan barges his way through on the inside. They're 3 abreast going in towards turn 8. Xavier Maynard was once fighting for 9th place. He's now down into 11th and picks up a half-second penalty. But whilst this racing is close for the bottom end of the points, it's starting to get rather aggressive. A lot of drivers kind of using the door in a way to send one down the inside, or I think if these drivers had front wings, they certainly wouldn't have much of a front wing, especially at this stage of the race, given by how aggressive the racing has been. We've already seen how the aggressive racing has caused accidents. We've had quite a few. There's a lunge down the inside from Cameron Hill on the inside of Evan Dalton, down towards turn 1. That was late on the brakes. A bold, a brave, a beautiful overtake from the Brit, who moves his way up into 9th place. And this race is starting to go from bad to worse for Xavier. I mean, he certainly has the pace to do well. I've seen how quick he is behind the wheel, especially of that Mercedes AMG, but things just aren't working for him this season. Had a good race in Road Atlanta, scored some decent points. Was let down a little bit by the strategy. I think staying out for one too many laps in the opening stint, costing him too much time, and was unable to make that back. And then was overtaken on the last lap from Tyler Davison, but since then it's been a long run of poor form from the Brit. He's finished in 9th place for the last 3 races at Mount Fuji and Daytona. But when you look at what happened in those races, he span in Mount. The racing in Fuji was very close, very aggressive, like we're seeing today at Interlagos, and then got caught up in that lap 5 incident involving Piero and Maurizio. The incident itself, I don't think, was caused by Piero. Well, it was started by that lunge down the inside from the Frenchman. But I'm not sure whether there was contact between the Lexus of Maurizio, whether there was net code, or whether Zav dropped it by himself, having to be corrected by that move. Speaking of, I think Piero's just lost that position to Maurizio Veldwist for 5th place. James has now got himself a little bit of breathing space to that train behind for his race, for his strategy. I think he needs to bin off tyre saving if he's been doing any of it in the opening stint. I think he needs to pull out a gap to the cars behind, because it's getting very close, very aggressive. I think we're just one move away from another sizable accident here at Interlagos, as these drivers battle for the bottom half of the points. Someone who has stayed out of all the trouble is Vestager Vardy, who's pulled out what looks like maybe a 9-second gap to Jensen Taylor, who runs in 2nd. Behind them, Thomas and Nathan Marriott going side by side. Nathan going right round the outside, being forced all the way up to the barrier on the outside line, as I think Thomas served a penalty on that lap, which explains the slow lap time and rather quick closing speed from the Lamborghini in front. Thomas, though, nearly pushing the Lamborghini through the left-hander of turn 3, will eye up and move in towards turn 4. Nathan defends the inside line rather aggressively to the inside. It's the outside line for Thomas, who's late on the brakes. Can he swoop this one round the outside? Is he going to be shoved off the track? He runs wide, and Nathan Marriott goes back through on the inside up into 3rd place. Will the Dutchman, though, get a penalty? There it is. It's pretty much a slam dunk at this circuit. You run all 4 wheels over the white line at turn 4, and the stewards will not hesitate in giving you a half a second or even a 1 second penalty. And I was going to say, he looked very close to running off the curb through turn 7. In fact, he was off the curb through turn 7, and has picked up a 1 second penalty to add on to his 5/10. And a couple of mistakes from Thomas. A penalty on the last lap, 2 on this lap, dipping wheels onto the grass through the right-hander, or the entrance to the right-hander at turn 10. I think Thomas just needs to take a little bit of a moment, because it's cost him for 2 laps running, and may reintroduce him to this battle for 5th place. Piero and Maurizio now side by side through turn 12. The Frenchman on the inside of the Dutchman, now ahead, but can he stay ahead? Because that Lexus certainly has more horsepower, longer legs than the Ferrari. Down towards the first corner, Piero tries to defend, squeezes Maurizio up to the inside barrier, who has the inside for the first corner, and gets ahead with a move late on the brakes down towards turn 1. this is why I love commentating on these drivers, because they make racing on this game look so good. That's a move down the inside for Piero. He moved it, he left it late, he sends one down the inside, doesn't make contact, no, does make contact, rather sizable contact between the two drivers. A huge snap of oversteer from the Ferrari, nearly taking out the Lexus. Speaking of taking out, I think more contact between the BCR driver and Tim Den Haier as the Dutchman moves his way up into 7th place with a move down the inside of James Kidwell. Xavier Maynard's going to try and poke his bumper in on the inside through the uphill left-hand, right-hander contact between the two. Sav on the inside, Tim round the outside, forces him way wide off the track, and through goes James Kidwell round the outside. That was very much Hamilton Verstappen-esque, and you know what, we're at Interlagos and we had a sprint race as well to make matters worse. Not make matters worse, but you know, the parallels are in line. See what I did there? Contact as Cameron Hill hits the back of Xavier Maynard through turn 12. This race has erupted with on-track action. It's exploded in this battle for 7th place. The elbows, they're not only out, the arms out, everything's out. Arms out, legs out. Please keep your arms and legs inside the ride at all times. That's not happening here tonight. Tim Den Haier having to go defensive in towards the first corner from an attack from James Kidwell behind this 5-car fight for 7th place. Tim Den Haier pulls over late to defend the inside. They're going to be 3 abreast in towards turn 4. James on the inside. And you know what? He returns the favour almost. He forces Tim Den Haier wide and off the track. And that might be a penalty for the Dutchman as through goes Xavier Maynard up into 7th place. Well, I mean, I'm not too sure what to say about this. This is absolutely, well, it's entertaining for the viewer. Cameron Hill and Tim Den Haier now run side by side. The Lexus contact as Cameron forces Tim wide and off the track, but the Dutchman sends one back down the inside. Anything you can do, I can do better, it seems, in this monumental battle for 7th place. Tim drifting his way through turn 11. When will this action stop? No, it's not, because Xavier Maynard's picked up a 1-second penalty for track limits. He will slow right down. He's going to lose 1, 2, maybe 3 positions, 4 positions as they all go around the outside, down the inside, you name it. He has gone from 8th down to 11th. Tim, though, has the inside line in towards turn 1. Evan trying to swoop it right round the outside in towards the first corner, but he's ran wide and Cameron goes through on the inside. Now the outside for turn 2. Tim's ran a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3. That's going to allow Cameron Hill to have a look down the inside as they approach turn 4. The Lexus is late on the brakes. How late can he brake? And that is a textbook overtake down the inside. Cameron now up into 8th place. And I've said this once, I'm going to have to say it again. Tiger needs to put his foot down and go for it if he's to escape this battle for 8th place. Well, from what we've seen, the bar has certainly been set. Not a lot of mercy is being shown on the racetrack as things stand, and we might need stewards may be a little bit occupied after this race. We'll have to wait and see. We've spent so long looking at the battle for 7th place. Let's go and summarise what's happened up in front. Jensen's ran wide through turn 3. That will be a time penalty for him. As he tries to hunt down Ernesto Guevara. Indeed, it is a time penalty. Nathan Marriott eyes will be lighting up with that. Thomas in 4th place, starting to struggle a little bit from tyre wear, but has pulled away from Maurizio Veltwist in 5th. James Kidwell is up into 6th place as Piero is into the pits from the mediums. The first driver to be into the pits, and then we're back down to this battle for what is now 7th place. Xavier Maynard defending the inside from Evan Dalton down towards turn 4. Cameron looking to try and open up and move on the inside for turn 5 perhaps, but can't quite get his Lexus in the position he needs to warrant space on the inside of Cameron Hill. Aggressively swerves back over onto the racing line. That's wide from Evan Dalton through turn 6. But it's far enough ahead to keep the position. We haven't really talked much about the track. We haven't really had much time to talk about this racetrack because Cameron Hill picks up a 1 second time penalty for track limits. We got another car into the pits, and it's the second Squadra Italia car, both Italian manufacturers, into the pits early, thinking they can get the soft compound tyres to the end of the race from here. We're on lap 17 out of 27. Now looking at this could be quite close between Nathan Marriott getting serviced and the cars coming out on the pit lane. Look over to the right hand side of the screen. We can just about see that green and black fluorescent car of Xavier Maynard making their way through turn 2. This could be close between the two British drivers. Marriott leaves the pit lane. Where is that car? It's about to go through on the screen. There it goes. This is not what Nathan needs in his hunt of Jenson Taylor. With that penalty on the last lap for Jenson, there is a chance that an undercut, quite powerful around this circuit, that Marriott could find himself in the battle for second place. I think I was 10 seconds behind race leader Esteban Gobardi before making the pit stop. So let's have a look. The Ukrainian stays out for another lap. But for Nathan's race, he needs to get past Xavier as quickly, but crucially as cleanly as possible. Jenson Taylor's into the pits off of the medium compound tyres. Look at the grip difference from a worn medium and a fresh soft down the inside for Nathan Marriott on Xavier Maynard, and moves his way up into 6th place. The darker green livery now ahead of the fluorescent green livery. And I must say, it's a similar design every season, but it does get changed. And I can't fault the BCR livery. It is one of my personal favourites on the grid, it has to be said. And it looks even better in my rearview mirror. But besides trash talking, Jenson Taylor is leaving the pit lane. This could be close between him and Marriott. Marriott is up to speed with the slingshot run down the turn 3, immediately pulls over to the pit lane exit to try and get in the slipstream of the Lexus. But look how much closer that gap is between the Lexus and the Lambo for 4th place. And they've got James in front of them, now occupying a podium position. We'll be in a great position actually if we were to declare a red flag. If the lobby were to close, it'd be a disaster actually if the lobby were to close, because then we wouldn't have half a race to commentate on. I haven't actually thought about that. Let's just hope that my game never crashes. Otherwise we'd have to do post commentary through someone else's stream. That would be great. Race leader Esteban Gobardi is into the pits at the end of lap 18 off of those medium compound tyres. I think we might see the two BCR drivers into the pits as well at the end of this lap. James has found himself in the battle for 3rd place, but he's got two rather quick drivers on fresh soft compound tyres behind him. Could Nathan Marriott potentially eye up a move for what will now be 3rd place in towards turn 1? But look how the Lamborghini starts to struggle in closing down that gap to Jenson, who just gives a little bit of a flash to the car behind. Maybe asking to work together to close down race leader Esteban Gobardi, who's just exiting the pit lane now in that Genesis, ahead, comfortably ahead like he was before, but that gap has come down quite substantially, maybe 4 seconds gained by the two cars behind. It looks like maybe a 5-second gap between 3rd and 2nd place. Thomas stays out for another lap on those medium compound tyres. James and Xavier are into the pits, whereas James going to filter out. Look on the right hand side of the screen, because there goes Evan Dalton now up into 8th place, as Tim Denhire and Cameron Hill are side by side down the back straight in towards turn 4. Down the inside goes Tim Denhire. Can he keep the move? Yes, he can. Cameron's going to have another bite of the cherry, though. He's got a good run up through turn 5 in towards turn 6. Is he going to hold it round the outside, or will he be shown track limits? Down the inside, Tim's the door open for Cameron to drift his way through on the inside. Now has the outside line for turn 9, but Tim Denhire does enough to stay ahead for now. Thomas stays out for another lap on those medium compound tyres. He could fall quite far behind Maurizio Veldwis in the battle for 5th place, but will have that tyre offset compared to the cars around him and the fresher tyres. Closest battle on track at the minute is the battle for 3rd place between Mason Marriott and Jenson Taylor. Marriott battling for his first podium of the season. Jenson fighting to keep his 100% podium record up. And also, crucially, close points on the absent championship leader, Ate Timgren. We haven't really mentioned that much throughout the course of this race, but Ate going into this race on 117 points. Jenson behind on 80. 37 points behind, got 12 points for winning the sprint, got an extra point for the fastest lap, and as it stands we'll be getting another point for getting the fastest lap in the feature race. It was calculated before the race, if Jenson were to win both races with the fastest lap, he would go into the next sprint at Kyoto 1 point behind Ate. Jenson missed round 1, and Ate's missing round 6, but Ate's missing sprint points. And whilst the race finishing from those two drivers it's been nothing short of exceptional this season. I've got the stats in front of me here. Ate has an average finishing position of 1.2 this season. Jenson Taylor 2.2. That is absolutely unbelievably quick and consistent, week in, week out. And behind them, we've got 7 drivers, that have an average grid finishing position between 3rd and 5th. Just think about that. That's 7 drivers who are constantly finishing 3rd of an average of 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Each week. Just goes to show how unbelievably close we have in the battle for the top 2, who seem to have broken away in the championship, and then there's that massive midfield battle for 3rd place, and then that battle for 7th. In this race, that battle's being led by James Kidwell ahead of Evan Dalton, who both run in 13th and 9th in the championship, respectively. Evan running in 9th on 25 points, 14 points ahead of the driver in front of him in this race. But there's only 15 points between 8th and 13th, so one good race could easily move you up or down in the championship. Here goes Evan looking to try to extend his gap to the driver he's battling on the racetrack. James and Evan now side by side through turn 1. That was clean, probably the cleanest bit of racing we've had between the drivers in 7th and below. Cameron leads this 3-car fight for 9th place. 2 of these drivers will score points, one of them will not. That's late on the brakes. That's a beautiful move if Zav can keep it. Now that is what you call a clean late lunge down the inside. I don't think Cameron saw him coming. And now Zav will have to turn attack into defence as they make their way in towards the middle sector. I think there was contact. I think Cameron just hit the back of Zav as the camera cut away from that bit of action between those two. Meanwhile, we continue to have this battle for 4th place. There's only 5 laps to go in this race, by the way. This race has absolutely flown by. We've got battles all over the racetrack. Piero and Maurizio battling for 4th place. The Ferrari a little bit deep in towards turn 1 as the sun begins to set behind in the background of turn 1. And Maurizio Valtris has got a beautiful exit through turn 3 and now pulls up alongside Piero down in towards turn 4. Piero moves up, Maurizio moves up into 4th place. Piero loses out in that battle. Evan Dalton now has to defend from James Kidwell down in towards turn 4. Down the back straight, Evan moves over to the centre of the track, doesn't do enough to defend from James, who moves over to the left hand side of the screen late on the brakes, and down the inside for the Brit, and behind them it's single file for now. Xavier Maynard leads Cameron Hill ahead of Tim Denhire, who picks up a 1 second time penalty. But now we've got to do it all again and cut up to the battle for 4th place. And a bit of contact between Piero's front left and Maurizio's rear right. Through Junção they go. The sun setting. It's golden hour here at Sao Paulo. The Brazilian Grand Prix has been nothing short of full of action and drama. Could we see more drama in the battle for 4th place? Maurizio defending the inside line from Piero, who just tucks up, breaks a little bit earlier, and will set himself up for the run down in towards turn 4. What about Evans' attack on James Kidwell now? The Mercedes, the BCR Mercedes, goes defensive to the inside, down and towards the centre S's. Can Evans swoop on around the outside? Can Maurizio get past Piero? Yes, he can, because the Frenchman's picked up a time penalty. But speaking of time penalties, and the man who seems to pick up a time penalty every time I cut the camera to him, there it goes, 1 second for Evan Dalton for running wide and off the track through turn 3. And that might fizz out the battle for 7th place. Tiger will be looking at that and can now breathe for a little bit, but still will need to keep setting some quick sectors. Vestagobadi, though, our race leader, has led pretty much every racing lap of this race via, apart from the pit stop window where a couple of drivers stayed out for a lap or two longer. But Vesta's done well to control the race from the front. He got out of the action quickly and has not been involved in any on-track dramas this week. Nathan Marriott picks up a 5/10 penalty for track limits. Down towards turn 3. I think Maurizio Valtris is too far behind to capitalise the gap. About 12 seconds between Maurizio and a chance at the podium. But he has still got Piero right behind him in the Ferrari 458. Whilst it's going to be a good day for Spider GT and Jenson Taylor, who have both scored some great team points throughout the course of both the feature race and the sprint. It's a good day for Squadra Italia, currently 3rd and 5th place, scored good points in the sprint. The only the only team with 2 drivers inside of the top 5. both BCR drivers are also running in the points. I believe we only have 2 teams that actually have a complete lineup. Sorry, 3 teams on the grid with a full lineup here tonight. Squadra Italia, BCR and Cabbage Crew. So Valquist doing a little bit of the heavy lifting whilst Cameron gets used to life on the wheel, having recently switched over from the controller, and it does take some time to get used to. And so whilst Cameron runs down in 10th place in the bottom end of the points, will still be scoring at points, but for every lap he does, he will be getting quicker. Not as the tyres wear down, but in terms of future learning for getting used to a wheel and trying to complement him, he picks up a 1 second time penalty. But the gaps have opened up towards the end of an action-packed Brazilian Grand Prix, a race filled with drama, and I'm going to use the word controversy. A lot of aggressive overtakes. The word isn't coming to my mind at the minute, but it's very much reminiscent of that Max and Lewis overtake at turn 4 in 2021, where Lewis was nearly pushed as far as Argentina, and it's one of those where if it happens to you once, I always say I race people how I want to be raced, and you know, if you get pushed wide enough to track, sometimes people think that's an excuse to give someone a taste of their own medicine. That might be the best way to use it. That's been we've seen that quite a few times this evening, so maybe it will calm down at Kyoto. Maybe doing a sprint at Kyoto might not have been the best idea. It's a track that's quite hard to overtake. The pack could be quite close, but it is a technical circuit, so the fastest drivers will come out on top. And speaking of the fastest driver here tonight, well, in terms of 1 lap pace, it was Jenson Taylor. Got pole and won in the sprint, and has got the fastest lap in both races. But when it comes to a 27 lap feature race, there's been one driver who kept out of all the action and got his way to the front of the field. Ernesto Gobardi, he completes Junsao for the final time this evening, and as the sun begins to set here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Ernesto Gobardi begins to flash his lights, because for the first time this season, Ernesto Gobardi crosses the line first and wins the Brazilian Grand Prix in some dominant fashion. Jenson Taylor beats out Nathan Marriott to 2nd place, and it's a first podium of the season for the Brit in the Lamborghini. Lamborghini's first podium in the FVR GT series. Maurizio Valquist will come across the line in 4th place and just about beat Piero to 5th, and the 2nd Ferrari of Thomas in 6th place. The BCR drivers have been in the wars tonight. There has been no other way of putting it. But James Kidwell, he's got his head down, fair play to him, and will cross the line in 7th place. Evan Dalton, the man he was fighting for a lot of in this race, will come across the line in 8th, ahead of other BCR driver Xavier Maynard in 9th place. Cameron here, well, he's had a bit of a quiet race, but also involved in that big battle for 7th place. He finishes in 10th, ahead of Tim Denhire in 11th. He finishes where he started. We'll get the action back up. We'll watch the start of the race once again. But we'll focus in on our race leader. Our race winner didn't get much of the screen time tonight, but who needs screen time when you're leading races by 8 seconds? Let's do a little bit of a race rundown then. Thomas started the feature race on pole position, having finished the sprint in 8th. Sprint race winner Jenson Taylor starts in 8th, just behind Piero. We cut to lap 5 after Ernesto Gobardi took the lead of the race, and we had the biggest crash of the evening. Xavier Maynard in the barrier and Jenson Taylor wide at turn 4, caused by Piero a little bit too late on the brakes, down in towards that 90-degree left-hander. And then after that, the battle for 7th place really did ignite, and we just kept pouring petrol on the fire. Several occasions there were drivers pushing each other off the track and then returning the favour and then giving it back. It's not exactly what you want to see from a sporting point of view. From a viewing point of view, I'm sure you guys are loving it and full of entertainment from this race at Interlagos. But you know, it's hard. It was hard racing. I'm going to leave the fair out a bit because several occasions drivers were pushed off the track when I think they should have been warranted space. But that's the move that Avesta done, the only move he needed to do to take the lead of the race. I've been Nathan, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the commentary this week from Brazil. A race full of entertainment and drama. We go to the other side of the world, where we go from South America to Asia, and we land at Kyoto in Japan for the third and final sprint of the season. Back-to-back sprints, a 15-minute sprint followed by roughly a 40-45 minute feature race. 27 laps of the Kyoto Driving Park Yamajiwa configuration, where tyre wear will be the worst that we've seen all season. That front right tyre will be screaming for mercy with several long 180-degree left-handers. Thank you for watching, hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe, do all that stuff. I nearly stopped the stream before I finished the outro, that wouldn't have been good. Make sure to tune in next Saturday where the postponed Abu Dhabi Grand Prix will be live this time next week, actually, because I'm streaming this on the Saturday instead of the Formula 1, where we have a sprint, double sprints in FVR. We love to see it. So, but join me next week for this sprint race at Kyoto. We're down to the final 3 races, where it's getting quite hot in the championship between Jenson Taylor and Ate Tingren, the Finnish driver 7 points clear of his nearest championship rival. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.